Hey guys, back with number 8. We are on number 8, consistency. I like it. We're back again with some more clients. We got a lot of great feedback on that, so we thought we'd bring in a client couple of ours, Sara and Jason. They are owners of Tribu. It's a marketing and digital marketing and branding agency here in San Antonio. Been around about 13, 14 years. Is that about right?
Yes.
Yeah,
13.
highly awarded, very recognized. So great people, great clients, and we're just going to talk a little bit about how they've done this and how our relationship has grown over the years.
Yep.
So I guess, how would y'all introduce Tribu?
So Tribu means tribe in Latin. Our whole goal is to build tribes for the brands that we serve.
Okay.
And more specifically, the function of what we do at Tribu is digital marketing and branding. And we serve a huge variety of industries. It's way more about, are you trying to build your business into a brand than it is serving a specific industry.
Awesome. And so 14, 13 years, what made y'all actually start in this industry? Was there a specific jumping off point where y'all were like, it's time to do our own thing?
Yeah, I was 22 at the time, so a little bit was like being young. I had done a couple of repeated internships at an agency that I grew to love, and then worked for them for a little bit.
Okay.
And then just the entrepreneurial itch was real, and also being young helps.
Yep.
So I started Tribu. At that time, I was also engaged to Jason, and we had an uncle who basically said, "Hey, Jason, I think this is working, and maybe you should hop on." I was like, "Hold on, no, he's got his life. We're about to get married." And then Jason was like, "No, I want to get on." So Jason has been doing sales for Tribu probably since right after that first year of us getting started.
That's awesome. What were you doing at the time?
I was in architecture school, so
Okay.
yep, dropped out of architecture school to jump on board here.
Wow, a college dropout.
Yep,
For a marketing virtual agency. I like it.
yep, that's right.
And then when did y'all meet? Like
17,
2016,
I think is what we
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, and how did
Sounds
y'all
about
meet?
right.
were referred by another advisor that they had that suggested that we meet, and they were interested in just getting a big picture
Yes.
of what their financial present looks like and where that may be headed down the road.
Yeah.
So we were doing some fee-based financial planning, did some investment work, and I was very, very impressed with how quickly they put together their business and how quickly it has expanded into what it is today. Almost intimidated by how well they've done as quickly as they've done. It's like, wait a minute, slow down a minute, let's talk about this. But they're like full speed ahead. This is where we're headed, and they've nailed it every single time.
Yep.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
A huge part because you gave us a lot of really good advice.
Great advice.
And helped us make sense of what felt crazy sometimes.
Yep.
Like,
Well,
I think
I
sometimes-
guess like a lot of our clients say, it's just, well, with any advisor you work with, it's just like, let us do our thing. And then we'll take time out, tell us how we're doing on this piece so we don't get out of whack there, and then we'll get right back into our world, and because that's what drives this.
totally.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
it has allowed us to focus on like building our business while we know that other stuff is being cared for.
And we have great conversations.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and they're not shy about
Spirited conversations, I call them.
which is awesome, right?
Yep.
Because everybody's open to it, everybody is honest about it, and here it is, and we'll do what we need to do to get you where you need to be, but don't ever hesitate asking.
Yeah.
Because how do we know what you're thinking or what you're concerned about or what you're hearing out there? Nick always is so good about saying is there's so much stuff out there now in social media and otherwise. You don't even know what's right, what's not right, what's appropriate for your situation.
Yes.
And that's helpful to us too, because it makes people think, it makes them bring
Yep.
up those questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We're not afraid of it or intimidated by it, and we need to know what people are thinking.
And I would argue it's a benefit to people, even though probably only 70, 80% of that stuff out there is true. It gets them to start those conversations and gets them actually thinking about it, and then we can help from there.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'd say that's one of the things that we've valued, the most with the relationship that we've built with you all, Pete, is like having that, the iron sharpening the iron, right? Like we'll have those, well, what about this, or why not this, or and we'll have these kind of spirited conversations, a lot of times spurred by Sara, and yeah, but I love that y'all aren't just like yes man or whatever it is. Like you'll say, well, why are you thinking that? Or and we'll have those conversations that really guide us down, ultimately to hopefully the right path, right? But I think having that relationship has been great.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we've just grown a lot of trust over the years.
Right.
Like I remember when we were buying our house, I called Pete and I was like, "Can we do this?" And it was like the evening. He called me back because it was like a fast offer situation.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
And kind of helped us see that we could actually do that. So the house that we live in, I don't know that it was a fast offer situation, and it was a big maybe, and it was because of that phone call that we were comfortable making the offer, and now that's where we're raising our kids, you know. And also
awesome.
we started talking before kids were in the picture,
That's right.
life
Yep.
planning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Been through a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention the planning,
Yeah.
right? Like the planning tool, like the plugging everything
Yes,
in to here's
that's
how we think
huge.
it's going to go. We don't know. We can't always predict the future, but that's been huge for us, right? Like putting it, kind of like what you're referencing with when you do that part, that gives you kind of the peace of mind of like, okay, we know that there's a plan in motion here,
Right.
and then we can do our thing, and then coming back and meeting up and seeing like, okay, well, how are we doing against the plan? Are we beating it? Did we, are we off track? Are we on track? So that's actually been really cool, kind of seeing how that progresses.
It almost gives you some confidence to make those big decisions like purchasing the house, right? Having
Yeah.
all that behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
really
also
do.
too, now I'm rambling, hopefully that's okay. But
Yeah, please.
like I'll never forget, like when we first met, you were like, okay, and we were starting the planning, you were like, okay, how old are y'all going to be when you have kids? When are you going to buy your next car?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. It feels all like a bunch of guessing at the moment,
Yeah.
but we had very real and practical conversations about it. And something that's been cool is to look back and be like, oh my God, like that actually all happened that way.
Yeah.
Does it,
Yeah.
know?
It does.
Yeah, and you'd always
And
be
it
like, let's
gives
just
a
put it in there.
reassurance.
Let's just get it in the
Because
A lot
plan.
of credit,
But once
Well,
it's in there, it's
it's
like,
cool.
if you say you're having a kid in 2 years, you better have that kid.
Yeah, right. Locked in. Yeah.
Why did y'all have y'all's kid? Oh, it was in our
Come up
financial
with a name.
plan. So I guess, going back to when y'all were starting all this, what do you think some of the bigger challenges y'all were facing as y'all kind of got into this on y'all's own were?
It's just we were going very fast, and so in a day-to-day, it can feel kind of crazy, And I think that is sometimes a challenge is just like keeping organized or making sure that you're making time to be a good steward of your resources. If you're blessed, then like operating life in a way that you can like honor those blessings, if that makes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I think there's always a feeling before we had like the solutions that you guys help us out with all the times. Are we running, but losing sight of where we're running? And that's always a challenge. And I think doing business with y'all has helped us with that big time.
Yep.
Just it's like you were talking about earlier, like the piece that someone is watching it, taking care of it while you're running.
Yep.
You know.
I know.
And you guys run.
And Sarah, I know your mom and family are pretty big entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Jason, is that a similar situation for
No.
you? Or
No, not at all.
So is it a little bit more intimidating hopping into that entrepreneur type role?
Well, Sarah's a visionary entrepreneur, and I've always had a lot of belief in her and the vision that she had. My background's a little different. Well, my mom's an immigrant. My dad is a Vietnam veteran. So he was more in civil service, and my mom really just, my parents sacrificed a lot, I would say, to kind of set us up to have better opportunities, my brother and I. And I think they did incredible at that. So in some sense, there's a little bit of that, risk taking, if you will, but not quite the same as Sarah's family, right? So I've always told her, like, she's like, well, I'm a marketer. I'm like, she's an entrepreneur, you know, she's a born entrepreneur, just kind of the right set of conditions, the right personality type, growing up around, her family and seeing, what they've done, I think was a big factor in that. But I knew pretty much from the start that this was what she was born to do, basically.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So this is a more Lewis Group based question, but I'm sure like a lot of our clients, people come to them all the time. And I ask this quite a bit, right? But what do you think has kept y'all with the Lewis Group versus I'm sure the advisors that come to y'all all the time through LinkedIn or whatever? What do you think that factor has been that's kept y'all with the Lewis Group?
No, honestly,
The
trust.
spirited conversations?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a big part of it.
Trust.
Yeah.
I feel like Pete knows us. I feel like you always do what you say you will do, and I love your team. Like,
Thank you.
and also too, I feel like Pete has a better memory than we do. Because sometimes we're running, and he'll be like, 6 months ago we said we were going to do this, and he'll remind us
Yeah,
of
we're
this
following
that
up
is
on it.
actually very
Yeah.
important for us
Yep.
to do.
Yep.
And so it's the follow through and the trust that's just like built over the years,
Yeah.
and everything we said we were going to do has happened, and everything you've said you were going to do, you've always done.
Yeah.
So it just, how does somebody come in and disrupt that?
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
that's true. And I think
that's a very
something
hard
you've
thing to
built
beat.
the Lewis Group on for the most part. You say that all the time, so it's cool to hear it from someone else.
It
too.
is, and it's neat to hear that about our firm because we have amazing people in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
People that have been there for years, decades, if not,
Yeah.
and are very, very invested in our clients and do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
That's invaluable, and we're just blessed to have had that happen over time. I can't take credit for it. It's just a blessing that happens along the way, to include Nick.
Yeah.
You know, coming into the
cool.
picture.
Yeah. It's been cool to see
doing
that.
such
It's
a
been
great
really
job.
cool to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when we started, Nick wasn't as involved. I think maybe you were there a little bit here and there, like kind of learning.
Yeah.
But that's been kind of cool to see. But
I was probably in like high school by then.
yeah, exactly.
And that includes Jason, our investment specialist,
Yeah.
Yvette, our
Jason's
registered
great, yeah.
power planner, and Tiffany and Annette and all the rest that are in there doing an amazing job.
Yeah,
totally.
absolutely. No, and I'll say the thing that really helped build a lot of that trust that Sarah's talking about is, Pete, you never overpromised. He never said. If anything, he was like, "Hey, look, let's not get distracted by all these things or trying to time this or do that." It's like a lot of that's noise. Let's do kind of the basics, the fundamentals. Let's do this. Let's do these things right. And you never tried to paint like a rosier picture, like say like, "Oh, I can get you this or that or whatever it is." Like that approach, I think, helped build a lot of trust, with Sarah and I. So.
You've kept us practical.
Yeah. Yeah.
With some good financial wisdom.
Yeah.
Was there talking about how y'all first met, was there like a point where y'all were searching out financial planners, or was it just kind of
No,
he found y'all, or?
there was a point where we were searching,
Yeah.
and to me that's a really big decision, and we wanted to get it right. And it's also a decision that, you don't want to remake every year. You
Yeah,
want to
right.
so we were searching, and that's why I was asking people who I trust, and we met with several people, and I just Pete, the integrity, just radiates.
through, yeah.
That,
Big time.
and the honesty too. He
To a fault.
wasn't always going to.
No,
Yeah,
I mean-
he will tell you the truth, not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And that's I
people don't like
appreciate
that.
that. No,
Yeah.
that's what I appreciate a lot. With this, I think that's super important when
Yep.
it comes to your life planning and your investments
Yep.
and where things will be and what your opportunities are.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
And
That's
it
hard for
kind of
some
goes
people to
back
hear.
to what Sarah was mentioning about when you have a business that's growing quickly. We were young in life too, right? So you don't necessarily have that life experience of having kind of gone through that. So it's kind of like one day all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, we have
should
to
take care
we
of
have to
this.
take good care of what
Yeah.
we're building, right? And think of these things and go talk to somebody who's a professional who can help kind of guide us through that situation. So that was a big moment for us. Yeah.
Also, one more, Pete. I felt at that first meeting. I remember I felt you believed in us.
Yeah.
That was important to
Oh,
me
that's
too.
Right, right.
Yes.
Well, I did. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
I mean, just the energy you guys
Right.
give off
Yeah.
is infectious.
Infectious.
Infectious. Fix that. I do know the English language. I was a journalism major at one time. So, I mean, it is. And it's exciting to have potential clients like you come into the office and ask us to help, because it just provides that much more energy to us and a challenge to us to be able to work with folks like you. And it helps us to grow our practice, because, again, that energy just radiates throughout the firm, and people are like, that's what we need. That's what we want. We want to be able to keep up with people like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I guess this is kind of to wrap this up, but is there any advice that you would give to those people in similar situations to y'all, growing businesses in early parts of their lives that are looking for financial help? And what importance, I think we've talked about it, but what importance do you think that's brought for y'all?
Advice. I would probably say start young and start early. Like when you start to feel, hey, I've got a lot of questions and I need somebody trustworthy to help me answer them. You know, that's start then.
Yep.
I don't think you'll ever regret starting early. Does that, you know, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Start before you know all the answers. Just start.
It's never too early to start, for sure.
Yes,
Right.
like, because you're probably also never going to know all the answers. So start young.
I think it's one of those things where like you don't ever know the exact day, but
Yeah.
it's yesterday kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean?
Yes.
It's never like today's the day I need to do this, but you know.
Yeah. Another thing is too, I mean, I highly recommend Pete, but find somebody that you trust.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that, I think trust is super important. So start early and meet with that person and trust your feeling in yourself. Do you trust this person?
Yep.
I think that's important.
Yep.
And that has to do with any of your advisors, your CPA,
Yes.
your attorney,
Exactly.
and that they all
Yeah.
work together too.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's not like
Yep.
this intimidation or defensiveness between them because everybody's working for the same people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think those things carry through whether you're building your business and looking to hire people to help you do that, or you're hiring a team of advisors, right? You're looking for people that you can trust, like be thorough in that process,
Yep.
you know, take your time to find the right people. You know, obviously have an idea of like the qualities and the things that you look for in somebody, right? Like Sarah mentioned, that integrity. It's the same thing that we would look for in an employee, right? Versus a trusted advisor, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where you're going to be talking to this person
All the
hopefully
time.
every single year for 30 years, 40
Yep.
years, whatever. So
Yep.
if you don't like them, it's not going to be a
Yeah,
fun time.
you gotta
Right.
like them.
right?
That's
You
it.
got to
For
like
sure.
them too.
Yeah.
There's a portion of that too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think
absolutely.
it has to be overcomplicated. It's like start early
Yeah.
and then make sure you vibe with that person.
Yeah, trust your gut,
and
you
trust
know?
them and
Yep.
can trust them. Grow
Absolutely.
a relationship with them.
Especially in
and
San
we'll
Antonio,
enjoy
that's
talking.
like the biggest thing in the world
Yeah.
is the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, well, cool guys. Well, anything else you'd like to include, Mr. Peter?
No, again, we're so blessed to have such awesome clients like this, which keeps us on our toes, keeps us challenged. I continually challenge the folks in the office to make sure that we're bringing everything we can to our clients, and it's clients like y'all that help us do that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Pete.
And
On-
Nick helps with that too.
Yeah. And
He's
my-
challenging.
And it's cool that my dad gets to introduce me to really cool clients like y'all and include me in all of that, because it's definitely valuable for me to see that next level and see people who've been around for a while and how it's really benefited them, because you know you always hear it, but until you see it, it's
Right.
a lot different,
Yep.
right?
For sure.
Well,
Thanks
guys,
for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for hosting
think
us on
we-
the
on the
podcast.
podcast, the Lewis Group podcast. We'll come up with a
Yeah.
better name someday. Something.
That's a good
snappy.
name.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Lewis Group podcast. Pretty straightforward.